What happens is whenever I'm asking that one question, I know if the candidate is a good candidate or not, because most candidates who don't fit a role, they would keep the answers very short. You need to actually understand the interviewer well. Whenever you are giving an interview, go open your LinkedIn profile, see what kind of a person he or she is, and then go through their experience, see what kind of posts they do. That gives you a good understanding of how the questions would be. Some of the most valued employees are always people who are able to gel with the other team as well. It's not about just, say, for example, a technical person or an engineer. It's not just about completing his own work. How well you are able to associate with the marketing team or the product team or the design team, how good a team player you are, and how well you can mentor as you grow.
A Sankarshan Joshi trip.
Attention, all hiring managers, entrepreneurs, and aspiring entrepreneurs. Are you tired of shifting through endless resumes that you get and scheduling interviews that never seem to end? Meet Bojamma HR, the superhero of recruitment software that's trusted by over 3,000 businesses. With Bojamma HR, you can wave goodbye to hiring headaches and hello to your dream team. From sourcing to assessment to scheduling offer rollouts, Bojamma HR takes care of it all. Don't believe me? Try it out for yourself and join the pajama party. Create your account through our special link that's mentioned in the description box or by typing pajamahr.com/Sankarshan Joshi. pyjamahr.com/SANKARSHANJOSHI. Here comes the rest of the episode. Welcome, Suchal. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I know we wanted to do this from a very long time and we kept pushing dates and now we get to do this finally. So, first of all, thank you for being here.
Yeah, I should be thanking you for having me as the guest.
My pleasure. So you're here for the first time and I didn't want to miss any of your background. And I was just going through what you've done so far with your career and I felt like, it was so overwhelming and I didn't want to miss out any points in your achievements. So I thought I'd ask you to do that. So could you do us the honor of introducing yourself and telling the audience, who you are and what is it that you do?
Yeah. So I'm Suchal Bojamma. I come from Coorg. I'm sure you know the place.
Yes.
So I've had a mixed career path. I did my bachelor's in computers, and then I slowly thought I was a people person, and I moved into HR. Now, I stayed as a HR for I think about 3 to 4 years. And then I was introduced to Bojamma HR, which is a HR tech product. And I got this wonderful opportunity to, pick up marketing here. So right now I work as a product marketing manager in Bojamma HR.
Okay. So when I heard that, I'll be talking to you and when I was going through all of your stuff, right? One thing that excited me to talk to you was that your experience in the field of HR, right? Especially because, so when I was in college, so I wanted to do a startup and I've seen a lot of people around me who wanted to start something for themselves. And there I've observed how important it is to associate yourself with right people.
Yes.
And that's on a very low level, right? And then I moved to corporate. And then I saw a lot of people around me and then I realized like how important it is to hire right employees. Like it's on any level in your life, right? It's always important to always think about who you associate yourself with, right? Like even when we're kids, our parents tell us, always make good friends. And that also applies to employees, right? Like who you're associating yourself with. It's like you're making your company friends with this person and we need to make sure that, this friend isn't toxic.
Yes. I think HR plays a very crucial role in laying foundation to any company. They actually act as a bridge between the management and and the employees. And employees always need that person in between to whom they can talk without, having any constraints, because no one feels very comfortable going directly to the boss. They obviously have a lot of questions, a lot of concerns about their managers, about the culture, anything like that. And they need this one person who they can, always go up to and talk. And similarly with the management, now if management directly starts talking to the employees, it's very difficult, especially when it comes to, say, salary negotiations, or sometime they want to ask them to, put in some extras. All this becomes very difficult if you're having a direct, association with the boss.
Yeah.
So that's why you need this middle person, more like a good cop, bad cop sort of a thing. So you need this middle person who's a HR, who is probably acting like a bridge between the two. Yeah.
Also, it's very important to, as we were talking about earlier, and as you also mentioned, that who we associate ourselves with, like who we hire. So in terms of startup, we're just associating, right? We're not technically hiring them as an employee in case if we want to make them a stakeholder or we want to give them a part of the company. But basically, we are associating them with ourselves. And also, if you go to the corporate, when they're hiring, they're building a new relationship, right? So to start with, like, for both cases, I was just wondering, and I'm sure that, a lot of people who are listening also have this question, because in my college we had an incubation, so everybody were in this rush of building startups, and 90% of them failed because they had associated themselves with someone who probably had a different vision for the company on a professional level, on a personal level, who very, they could be egotistic or very narcissistic, or like their agenda of associating with you might be different, right? So on a base level, what is it that you should look for, like when you are associating yourself or hiring an employee? So
I think one, just if I have to give an example of what we do in Bojamma HR itself, we take our culture fit rounds very seriously. So while the HR initially talks to the candidate before any process starts, then we have the technical rounds and all of that. And before we make an offer, we have a good 60-minute culture fit round where we try to understand how aligned they are with our existing employees.
Okay.
Now, even in the team, we have very different set of individuals. Some people like playing sports, some people like partying, and some people, we're a very small team and everyone's sort of similar. So now everyone treats each other here as friends. Now, if I'm hiring for Bojamma HR, I will keep this in mind. I would want to know any person who's coming into my company is somewhat similar to the existing employees.
Okay.
And we always ask behavioral questions. We try to understand what they what they do as hobbies, how they spend their weekends, what excites them, what kind of books they read, all these different things. Do they smoke? Do they drink? What they like doing, basically. And this helps us actually lay a good foundation to the team. Now we are about 35 people, and we've never had an instance where I think we had to be like, oh, this employee stands out. Everyone seems to like each other. We all work as a family, and this was something that I initiated initially. I think I joined the company somewhere in 2018. So we've done this ever since, and that has helped us a lot in laying a good foundation to a team. And this is something I actually picked up in my previous company where I was doing a lot of college placements.
Okay.
So that is when I realized that you find the similar set of people, train them towards a similar culture, and that team that grows with you is stronger than not having a very planned team, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you ask a set of behavioral questions, right? Is it to understand the nature, to create a personality, basically, right?
Yeah.
So what would those questions be? I was just curious, like
it actually depends on individuals specifically. Like for instance, very recently I was talking to a HR. So we were trying to hire a HR, and some of the questions that I was asking was basically one of the reasons why she was leaving the company was because she didn't like the team being too friendly with her.
Okay.
So I asked her what exactly she felt, what she didn't like. She said she likes to just go work for those 8 hours and then just go back home. She doesn't want anyone coming up to her and asking any questions around what she does, or she doesn't want to spend extra time after office, playing games and all of that. So very casual questions, but trying to understand what they're looking at in their own career paths.
Okay. So I don't want to name this person because they'll know the company, but so someone that I know, they recently got a job at a startup, and that startup makes around like 20 crores in revenue, and it's pretty like good valued company in terms of market cap. I went to their office. I've seen people, and I've seen like what sort of actions they do, all of that. And I've also seen like small startups like smaller than theirs with a very good set of employees, like in terms of quality. So while hiring and then associating, like you also need to set a standard, right? In terms of if they fit this standard, only then we do. So some companies, what they do is they select a certain set of colleges, and then we hire from only these colleges, could be like a top tier colleges, tier 1, tier 2, whatever they may be. And I was wondering like the importance of that. Of course they'd be like good
always outliers.
Yeah, in terms of technicalities, because they are from the tier 1 colleges, and setting a standard is always important, right?
I think some companies tend to also do that to see, especially when you're raising funding and all of that, they want to show a certain kind of students who are from a good background, even to their stakeholders and stuff, right? Like investors and all of that. So that is one of the reasons like a lot of companies actually hire from tier 1 colleges. Apart from that, they are also trained very differently. You need people from different places to bring in different ideas. So you need those tier 1 college students because they come with a very strategic mindset, which may not happen in different colleges. Now, only when you get people from different places will different ideas come in, and that's when good products happen. Even in our company, we have people from IIT, and then the normal colleges as well. And it's very surprising. It's never true that just because they are from tier 1 college, they are giving great ideas. You will see someone else who's from a very normal place also giving something, but it gets more refined because someone who has been trained in a certain way is kind of giving them a boost. So that is why you need people from different culture, different that's why diversity is so important.
Yeah. I 100% agree with this because so currently for my 9 to 5 we collaborate with someone from US and Europe. So when we see, right, like what is problem to them might not even be on our like top 20 list of problems. So like we are from a third world country, yes, we're developing, but also like our set of problems are very different to their set of problems, right? So the cultural aspect, like where you need to get people who understand each other's problems, right? Like in the sense, for someone from there, to them like gender inclusivity, and so that is a problem, right? To us, like in terms of practically impacting, like that would be on a like in terms in the hierarchy, it would be somewhere at the last, right? So this diversity part, I 100% agree. So in your experience, is there something that's a red flag, like when you're hiring someone? Like when you look at someone, right, technically everyone wants to be a right fit, right? Even though I might technically not be, I don't mind like changing few things in myself to be at a better place, right?
Very personally, something which is a red flag, now I don't know if it's going to be controversial, but it's basically anyone who's too religious in an interview.
Okay.
How so there was an instance where someone was talking about religion and what they do as part of an interview, and those kind of things are very it's a pure red flag for me, because
Okay.
I would never want my team to be very centric towards one religion, right? I would want everyone to feel safe, included, and just a human inside a company, not like I'm a Hindu, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian. It's just everyone's just one. And when you're playing, when you are eating, we have this practice of eating together every Friday. Like my parents, now when I say it's Friday, when they call me sometime in the evening and I'm like, oh, today's Friday, they know we always have an activity. And so for us to purely enjoy and no one feeling threatened, I think everyone should have this open mindset to accept whoever it is, however they are.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So it's like you already have a bunch of like puppies or like babies in your company, and if you feel like something might be a threat to that harmony, like you point that out, right? Anything else?
Mostly this, I think. Otherwise, I've never come across something, such a threat during an interview. Mostly someone who's willing to work. We try a lot of logic questions. We see why they are looking for a change. These are some of the questions I usually ask. How they take feedbacks, if they had, how their relationships around their managers were, if they were criticized, how did they react to it, what were some of the steps that they took after that. So these are some of the common questions I ask to see. Sometimes in a meeting it happens that you get slightly heated because someone wants it a certain way. There's nothing personal, it's just everyone has their own ideas and approaches and stuff. And so in that word, someone might say something. How do you take those criticisms? Especially happens with designs. Design mindset of every individual is very different. So there could be a design feedback in a product which a designer may not like. How does the person take it?
Okay.
So different questions like this helps me understand if someone's a right fit to a company, I think.
Okay. So mostly this is about personality, right? Like this. So we are keeping skill apart and we're talking just about personality, right? So if anyone who wants to grow in their career, so most of my audience, or like most of the people who talk to me or who I talk to, right, they're very at the start of their career and they're very ambitious. Like they want to do like great things. And when you have ambition and you're at the wrong place, that's not a good combination, right?
Yeah.
And if you are at a good place but you don't have that personality or ambition, then that's also waste. So in the sense, for what should someone look at, to self-evaluate, to see if their personality would be a best fit for this company and also for any companies, just in terms of basic level of things that they need to check.
It's not just personality, like you mentioned, skill as well. To start from where they start, right? Like colleges. So when I used to do placements, one of the main thing that I noticed were students tend to take a job not because they are interested in the role, just to get a job.
Okay.
Now that is one of the main reasons half of the people probably after 3 years, 4 years in their career, they just don't find it interesting. They then start looking for a different career path. Then they feel depressed about life. They feel that, their peers are doing well. They are not performing well. The whole problem was that you got into something which you were not interested in the first place. So I think if most of your viewers are someone who's just starting off their career, they should always do something they're passionate about, especially in the world that we are right now. Social media has improved so much. Any passion you take has so much scope. It just needs some fighting with your parents to, let them follow their dreams, or just some patience when placements are not happening at a pace that they are looking for. So mostly when I used to interview engineers, they'd be like, we're not getting companies that we wanted, so we are trying to get into sales. Now you've spent 4 years of your life doing all different things. Now you are getting into sales. Now he or she will never be happy about it, right? Even in the field of HR, when I'm interviewing a lot of HRs, they are just there because they thought it is easy, and not because they, liked talking to people, or they they think about employee engagement, or they think of different aspects of HR. They just find it as an escape. Most of them have told me this thing, coding is difficult and this is easy. It's happened in interviews. So I think, one, you need to do what you like. And if you're somewhere, 2-3 years into your career, you need to write your resumes well. Most of them don't land in a good job because their resumes are not reaching the right company. They don't include what they're working on, the skills that they are supposed to mention in the resume. They have a lot of decorative items in the resume which does not get passed through a applicant tracking system. So basically, just plan your resumes. It's even said, if you're applying for multiple companies, have your resume focus towards each of these companies. If it means make multiple copy and apply. So you need to apply right, basically.
Yeah. Anything else? First being knowing, before entering the job, understanding if your likes are in line with what you'd be doing. Second would be resume, right? So can you expand a little bit more on the resume part? Because what is right resume?
Yeah.
It's very subjective, right?
So there are multiple things, okay? So you must have heard of an applicant tracking system, right? Bojamma HR is an applicant tracking system. Now, most of the companies have started adapting such tools to take, during their interviews, because that helps them track candidates better,
do all the
schedule
logistics
and all of that. Now, in your job description, say for example, I'm hiring for a graphic designer. It'll have certain tools that I need, and what are the basic skills, or certain criteria. Now, if your resume does not include the similar skills, even if you are a graphic designer, it will never match to this particular JD. So because it's not matching, the recruiter will always have your resume somewhere under a low match, and we tend to only talk to the medium and high match for a particular role. So even while you've got similar experience, we are never opening your resume because you never mentioned them in your resume.
So you're saying in terms of it's like a particular keywords basically.
You need to have your skill keywords in your resume so that it matches with the JD, and it is a better match for us. Otherwise, we honestly get a lot of applicants. Say for example, roles like machine learning, etc. I think we get thousands of resumes, and no one has that time, and everyone wants to close a position as soon as possible. We don't have that kind of time to go through each of the resumes. We'll always put in certain filters, and whatever comes on the top, we are only talking to them. So that is the main problem, I think. Another is candidates don't know where they are applying. Sometimes I've noticed whenever we call a candidate, they'd be like, oh, which company did I apply? So instead of applying to 20 different companies, choose a company you want to go to. Apply to those companies, read their job description, know where you want to go. You have to know what you want to do in your career. So only apply to those companies, and it's such a turn off when you call them and they are like, okay, which company did I apply? So we feel like there is a lack of interest, and we don't want to, unless, there's a lot of skill and we see the resume is really great. I don't think any HR would actually call that person back because he, in the first call, showed a lot of lack of interest.
That's a turn off, right?
Yeah.
As a company, you feel not so important.
Yeah.
Right.
So you feel, especially if it's a startup, they think that they're not treating you right just because you're a startup. Now, say you're applying to Amazon, you'll always remember you applied for Amazon, right? So I think as startups don't want to be treated that way, and we want to feel important, and we want to feel that you want to get into our company because of whatever we've achieved.
So the best practice would be maybe in whichever field you are, like there would be a certain industry standard terminologies, right? Maybe they could use that in their resume. Do you think that
so
would
like I said, whenever you're applying, I think you need to understand what you want to get into. Shortlist companies based on those your career path, and then make your resume suiting those 5-10 companies that you have applied for. In fact, if you see out of India, people have a concept of cover letters, which never happens in India.
Yeah.
So when cover letter itself is a very it is very company specific. It's addressed to the HR, saying that you're interested in a company's role. So that is a very good practice, because you know that this is the company I'm applying. This is what I want to do in life. This is where I want to go. So I think that's very important.
Okay. I was also a part of this initiative of our company where I was also part of this hiring process where I was doing the logistics part, organizing the Excel, adding things there, and then, organizing interviews. I just wanted to understand how this thing happens. And obviously everyone judges a book by its cover, right? And so I am from design background, so our work would mostly be judged, our fit. Are we fit for the company? It's mostly just based on our work, right? There are other fields where it's just pure resume, and then they go to either tests or they give interviews, right?
Yeah.
So they don't have anything else to show other than their resume at the first stage. So it makes sense to give a little importance to resume, and then
it's actually not just that. I get a lot of design profiles also. So like you rightly said, for a design profile, portfolios are important, right? But trust me, we get a lot of resumes with no portfolio attached.
You have to ask them.
Yeah, we get it with LinkedIn attached with nothing. There's just text on LinkedIn. There's no design portfolio there. So that is when I say ki at least 50% of the candidates apply each day with no intent. And that is the reason now we are talking to the wrong candidates. The right candidate is waiting. Then there's the whole experience problem and all of that. And we usually get a lot of mails asking why we've not received updates on time, and most of the time it's the similar kind of candidate itself. And there's so much to and fro that happens because they're not putting in the right documents. Now if it's a position that I have to close in 3 days, I'm never going to have the patience to actually reach back to you and ask for your portfolio, or even in your resume if you've not again, I don't think it's entirely true. It's just resume. Say for example, content writers can attach their write-ups and stuff. For example, even technical positions, they've worked on multiple projects. They may have some project that is towards the company and it's confidential, but they can still put some layout into what they worked and stuff. So any field for that matter, you can still elaborate on what you've been working, and that should be good enough.
Yeah. Also, I wouldn't have known this if I didn't work for the initiative, right? It's just the tiny things that matters. So when you're a lot of people write their experience in terms of companies, right? From this time to this period, I've worked in this company. This period to this period, I've worked in this company. They're not very distinctively mentioning it that I have 3 years experience. I have 4 years experience. So you'll have to go there and then calculate how many years, right?
Yes.
And that might lead to a tiny bit of human error, right? Like what if they read the 2019 as 17 and then they just cut 2 years of your experience.
There is, again, this is a problem whenever the company is using an ATS as well. And another reason why you should be using an ATS, then these human errors will not happen and it will automatically capture based on the dates. But there are so many cases when they are, the resume has a lot of mistakes. Like I have had resumes where even their own experience dates are wrong. And we spot it in the interview. So I feel like people should actually put in a lot of effort into having a perfect resume with good formatting, no spelling errors. So many resumes come to us with a lot of spelling errors. It's just a day's work, I would say, to just make one perfect resume, and then you make copies, for whichever role you're applying.
Yeah.
But there are a handful of people who don't put in even that much of an effort into the resume.
Yeah.
And again, when we are looking at different candidates, we get a lot of volume, and so then such candidates don't even clear the HR round.
So it's like we're creating a career like handbook right here. So first we spoke about applying for the right companies where you want to be part of, and then we spoke about resumes, right? And then let's talk about interviews. So how do I think that there might be a lot of people who go to YouTube, look for like what's the most asked interview questions, like how do I nail an interview, all of that, right? And certain questions that are coming your way, like tell us about yourself,
Yeah.
or in your previous work experience, like what was this, blah blah blah. Like a certain set of questions that already comes, right? So when you're hiring an employee, or if I am giving an interview, how should what are the best practices and what are the best tools that I can have to ace an interview?
I think there's no tool as such, but something that I personally, if I'm interviewing, the first question that you said, I tend to ask, tell me about yourself. Now, when I say tell me about yourself, I'm not looking at hearing, what you do otherwise, right? What basically any interviewer wants to know is, for that question, you talk about your professional life, but in a very short, length, basically, okay? So what happens is, whenever I'm asking that one question, I know if the candidate is a good candidate or not, because most candidates who don't fit a role, they would keep the answers very short.
Okay.
Tell me about yourself. I'm so and so. I did this. I I have total this much year of experience. That's all done. I have to keep asking questions to know more about that person. Now, in that, I know that this person's not too, good. He's not done much. Now, someone who's done a lot in the role or is a perfect match for this role, in that one question, he tries to cover up a lot of things that he's done. So I don't have to put in a lot of questions. Then I can move into more behavioral questions, logical questions, and all of that. So this one, I think that's like the first impression thing, right? So first impression is always the best impression. So that one question, I think people have to prepare better to give that first, impression to the interviewer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the best practice in terms of to answer the question right? What all things do you think I need to cover when I'm telling about myself? So a lot of people think that they want to talk about their credentials, like in terms of career wise, and also they want to tell that I'm a very fun loving person. So
yeah. So I think, again, I would, from my experience, what I've understood, it depends on individual interviewers as well, okay? You need to actually understand the interviewer well. So I would say the start of it would be, whenever you are giving an interview, go open your LinkedIn profile, see what kind of a person he or she is, and then go through their experience, see what kind of posts they do. That gives you a good understanding of how the questions would be and how they would. Another thing I also do is I go through Glassdoor before giving any interviews.
Sorry?
Glassdoor?
Okay.
Yeah. So I tend to see what each company, what kind of questions they give and all of that. And then I form it. So if I feel like if I'm someone who has more experience, I would introduce myself, and then I would get into what the role requires, like what are my relevant skills and things like that, and that works for me.
Yeah. I also used to use that trick where whoever the interviewer is, on the mail you either get their name or the mail ID, something will be there, right? So I'd go to their profile, and when you are a designer, you have to talk a little bit about how you see world, like your perspective and things that you admire, all of that, right? So I would just see what are the things that they like, and when I'm talking in the interview, probably talk about like their interests, and then make it seem like whatever topics that I'm talking, it's in line with their perspective.
And I think it's also about not being too prepared for an interview also. Like sometimes there have been instances when we realize, okay, this person's actually Googled a lot of things and he is giving those Google answers. Because we also tend, when we are, forming our own questions, our own behavioral questions and all of that, we also tend to take help. Now there's ChatGPT, we try to get questions and, improve our questions with time and stuff, right? So we know what are the answers out there. So we somehow get an idea this person's actually Googled a lot and actually come up with an answer which Google is told is right. And this is not you. So somewhere you just have to be you in an interview, and we want to know what you are and not what you can have this mask initially, but eventually you start working, things will not work. This has happened multiple times. I was talking to a friend, she was hiring for a Scrum Master. The person's interview went really well. But when he started working, we realized he's very different from what he was. So you might crack an interview, but eventually it's not going to work for you.
Yeah, that's true. Also, a post-interview, when they get into a company, other than being good at what you do or what they've hired you to do for, other than that, what are the other things that would help them create a good face value and then brand value? If I am, so this is something that a lot of like good people in our company, like who has a lot of interviews, so they talk about branding yourself. So even on LinkedIn also, like, how are you branding yourself? Like, when you're talking to people, what sort of impression would you like to leave? Like, it's just the entire, how are you branding yourself? So if that's the question, do you have any tips and suggestions, as in how would someone create a better brand value for themselves as an employee to the company? And so other than the skills, what other things they could do?
Mostly, if I have to just look at our own company, some of the most valued employees are always people who are able to gel with the other team as well. It's not about just, say for example, a technical person or an engineer. It's not just about completing his own work. How well you are able to associate with the marketing team or the product team or the design team, how good a team player you are, and how well you can mentor as you grow. So it's not, so we've had people in the company who started as a normal employee but later grew to becoming team leaders. They now share their insights. All of this matter. You need to not just see your own growth, but you need to be someone through who someone else can grow, and that is very important. And that kind of an employee is always appreciated, who not just helps people around them grow, and with that the company also grows. So I think that is important.
Also, I think this introvert extrovert question, right? Like, some people, for them it just naturally comes. Some people, they have to put effort. I think regardless of if you are an introvert or an extrovert, it doesn't matter, but these are the things that you should do, right? Like, regardless.
I think even introverts, if suppose they are comfortable in their own group now, even if you see normally also you might have some friend who may not talk outside a group, but within that group he's always full of ideas. So even in a team, it's fine. Initially you're taking some time, but once you get to know the team, you need to somehow be comfortable around your own team. Now, again, if you're not going to open up, it's going to be very difficult. You're not going to make friends in office, and having friends in office is also a good thing, because I keep telling, I might not be meeting my best friend as much as I'm meeting my colleagues. So you need to have that mindset that, okay, we are friends, we are in this together. So even if you're an introvert, I think just normally being just taking part in the different activities that happen, sharing ideas and giving in your own suggestions, all this is important for both the team and for himself.
Right. Also, being too friendly is also a red flag, right? I've seen a lot of in the past, I've seen where my teammates in the like first 2 or 3 interactions, they're talking about their breakup, and I'm like, why are we even having this conversation? Like, any conversation that we have, it should be a value add to me, and that should be a value add to you, right? Like, this makes no sense. Also, how you resolve a conflict is also very important, right? Like, you can't be so you can't fight like how you fight with your sibling or your friends, right? You have to be very professional about that. Like, I've had of course you're gonna have like 2 different ideas and you don't agree with each other often when you're in a team, but you need to figure out a way where you use words that are very professional, and also they convey in good faith,
I think it all starts with a good culture fit itself. So if you're hiring people who are similar, who have similar values, similar mindset, it is very rare that you would have instances like this, because again, that's where HR comes in anyways. So you need to build a culture where you're friendly, but when needed you are stern, and you're able to tell the same friend what is good or bad in a thing. So even if for instance, I tend to always have, I told you, right, so I always have this attitude, colleagues are friends, but I think I've never had a problem. It could be my office bestie, but I've never had a problem being stern and being like, you're wrong in this, you better get this done, or you're not leaving. I don't think I have ever had a problem switching, from being this nice friendly person to someone who is a strict manager. So that is important. Making friends is good, but that shouldn't be your drawback.
I think that's so very, very important point, because some people are very agreeable in nature, like they're very easygoing, and they can't state their ideas very firmly, they feel guilty, like what if the other person gets hurt. Like there's a lot of conscience that way, right? Even though you are not that type of person, you need to work on yourself to somehow make yourself do that, right? Like that's a necessary thing that you have to sometimes.
That's just growing in work, I think. So once you get into a team lead manager sort of a position, you need to somehow build that in you, to actually be stern when you have to get some thing done. There could be some product deadline, you need your people to work. So it just comes very naturally as you grow in career.
That's true. Also, the other thing that I wanted to touch upon during the interview, right? I've received a feedback which I thought is a good one to talk about in an interview. I just wanted to wanted your thoughts on it. One of my manager at work, he told me that anything that you're talking about in interview, right, talk about it as a story, like you're telling a story. Like even when you're talking about yourself, say as many stories as possible, or like present the entire thing as a story. So what are your thoughts on that?
So even when I say I told you I ask a lot of questions about if they've had a conflict in your thing. So I'm not going to judge. There could be some situation that led you to it, right? But some background story into what exactly happened. And okay, not completely into it, but just an overall, overview of what happened and how you tackled. Basically, what we want to know is, if a similar instance happened in our company, how would you resolve it? And any time when you put your own real experience to it, it adds a lot of value, because I could simply be saying, okay, probably recording seems fun, but I'll never know how it is until I start doing it, right? So any example of a real case incident that's happened is always good. It adds a lot of value to whatever you're saying. So yes, I would actually agree that during your interviews, if you can tell talk about a problem and then talk about what you did, that will help the interviewer feel connected and feel that, okay, this is something that she's already experienced. And that adds a lot of value.
And also now I'd like to segue from employee to a company. And while segueing, I want to talk about employee. In how long do you think they need to change companies? How often is not a red flag? So one thing that I've realized is, the longer you stay in a place and you don't feel like you are progressing, and switching companies actually helped a lot of people, because they while switching, you need to challenge yourself a lot, right? Like you need to update your resume, you need to do all the things that would probably focus on your career more. Maybe that's the reason, or this company is not valuing the employee enough to to keep them, probably give some incentives, all of that. So I think this is my opinion. I will change that if you feel like that's wrong. So 2 to 3 years, I think that you can change a company. Like you need to change the company. Like I've put that as a need, because I'm getting too comfortable in this company.
Yeah, I think the right time, it cannot be defined with year, but it's basically your growth. You should be changing a company the moment your growth becomes very stagnant.
Okay.
So it should always be, how much you're learning, how much opportunities you're getting within the company to learn something new and implement something new. So if both of this is going in a straight line, then that's the time you should be moving. Now, I've been here for 4.5 years. Now, I've in Pajama HR. But every day, I'm learning something new. One good thing, I got this opportunity to move into marketing. Now, marketing, there's so much to explore. And every day, there's some new idea that comes out. And in my 4.5 years, and I've never come to that point where I'd be like, oh, this is all. I think I should move. Because the learning curve has been that good. So it is not how many years, but how good a learning curve you're having in the company. Now, there are a lot of, even when people, I get resumes with a lot of people switching in a year or a year and a half. My question is basically, what was your reason and how they felt their growth had become stagnant? Because you would realize a lot of people only move to get that instant 30% hike on their salary and all of that. But you can do this for some time, but eventually you've not picked up a lot of things in the same organization, because every company has some time. You take some time to learn a company and then pick up work and all of that. By the time you're there, if you're leaving, then you've not added any value to the company or to your own profile, because you never know. That is where the growth started and you've already left.
True.
So I think you should always focus on growth and whenever it goes stagnant, you should move.
Point noted. Yeah. Also, in terms of company standpoint, right? It's always the case for employees, they're like, oh, I'm not getting a job, like no one's hiring. But when you see on the company side, they are always in need of employees. Like they always say to the hiring people, like all of that, like hire more, like we need more, right? So what is it that companies are doing wrong? Like if I want to hire a right employee, in your perspective, what is it that companies are doing wrong that they could do better to have a better, to hire better employees and also retain employees?
I think now in our case as well, now it's not like we need employees only because we're not able to retain. Sometimes the team is growing. Mostly this is a case with startups and all of that, right? Because I think most MNCs usually tend to get people from tier 1 colleges. They're sorted. It's more like a seasoned thing.
Yeah.
But when it comes to startup, they hire as they grow. Now, one of the main reasons, at least in our case, we find it difficult is, like I said, we recently hired a customer success manager. He was a low match.
Okay.
So luckily we had that time in hand to actually go through our low match to find the right candidate.
Okay.
But because people are not putting the right terms, we are never getting as many applicants which are good. Whoever's matching are not there, and whoever could be a good match are not reaching the company because they've not included the right words in their resume. Now that is one of the challenge. Another is not using tools. Most companies you will hear, they have been using Excels. Now the volume is so high, the candidate application volume is so high, that's very difficult to manage it in an Excel. They don't have filters, they will look through a few resumes, they'll just do resume screening and do the hiring. They don't talk to a lot of people. So this delays the process a lot. Now, mostly I think it is the volume and not using the right tools, which adds up a lot to the delay in interviews. Yeah.
Okay. So other than that, anything that the employees can, as a company standpoint, while hiring any, what do you think in terms of industry standard, in your observation, what do you think they're doing wrong?
Again, like a tool is one thing, because you need to, and another one of the thing is thinking that HR is not needed. I have a lot of startups where they either directly outsource it or they do it themselves. This is another reason why a lot of companies don't find the right candidate until they realize, oh, we needed a HR who would, even if you're outsourcing, you need that one person who is constantly talking even to the recruitment agencies, telling them this is the right candidate and all of that. So this also adds to a lot of delay because, again, you are the founders don't have that kind of time to give enough feedbacks. Then you get someone and then you realize, oh, this is not the person. Then again, they restart the process. So yeah, so that brings us to 3 different reasons, I think.
Okay.
And 3 at least 2 things that companies can implement. One, always have a HR. It always helps. You're laying your foundations right, you're doing your culture fit right, you are hiring faster, and always use tools. Use your applicant tracking system softwares. It always helps you to talk to the right candidates. These days the tools are very advanced. They are all AI powered. They help you match with the right candidate, and so using and leveraging tools is one of the things they should improve.
It's interesting you came to technology, because I was actually my next question was that I was thinking about that technology is evolving so rapidly, right? Like from the past couple of days, I was doing a lot of researches in how AI could help this podcast and also my work, like what are the tools. A lot of AI tools are coming who are actually editing videos for you, who's like refining your draft. Like there's so many things that's happening in the space. And also in terms of work, there are like a lot of AI tools that are coming, right? So how do you see the technology, how better can we use technology in this aspect? How can companies leverage?
I think just taking our own example, I think be it designers, be it marketing, be it HR, engineers, everyone's on ChatGPT right now, in our company at least. Now, we are not going with a mindset that it'll replace half our employees. It's mostly to fasten up things. Say, for example, in my own role, I use it to probably, say, for example, policies. Earlier, what used to happen is these HR policies, HR handbooks, they are lengthy documents. Now, instead of writing something from scratch, opening different documents, you can simply write a good prompt to ChatGPT to give you a document, which in turn you can just edit to, fit into your own company. Now, there you've saved days of work and days of research, and you can finish this in like half a day or a day. So I think these tools, at least from how much I've used Midjourney, I've used even for your videos and stuff, Weed.io, all of these. So I think these have always helped me. All these tools have always helped me speeden up things, and it again, so many things you sometimes don't think in a certain perspective. It's like that friend who would give you some hint and you can form something around it, right? So ChatGPT and all these AI tools have helped me that way. And even in our HR industry, it can be used for simple things. So things, HR, especially employees, have a lot of questions, say tedious questions or something. Sometimes in Google, there are so many links that it is very time consuming, and you can simply ask ChatGPT and it will give you those answers, and then you can add things to it and then convey it. So I think it plays a very crucial role, and I would say people should start implementing it, and you will see a lot of change in how you work.
So would you this is a very vague question. So how does the future look to you with this technology? What do you think the future of either the process of hiring, or like the employee interaction, or like talking to them, this entire thing, right, from company standpoint? So what do you think the future is going to be like?
I think it's very interesting. Most companies have already started implementing a lot of things. Say, for example, even in Bojamma HR, we are currently working on building a creation of JD, which is very seamless. So AI helps us. Initially, we had to, go to the manager, write a good JD, write the responsibilities, skills, then ensure that, certain keywords are added perfectly. Now, with all these AI implementation within the product, companies that use our product would be able to generate a JD very effectively, and that would help them get more candidate applications as well, right? So all these technology, I don't think people should fear technology. I feel like it would be interesting, and things would start getting a lot more faster.
It was lovely having you on the podcast. The conversation was so seamless, and I am very glad that we did this. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome. I should be
sharing.
thanking you for having me here.
It's my pleasure and the audience pleasure. So, any last words?
I think that's all. It was a great session with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Hope to have you back again sometime in the
Sure,
future.
sure.
So,
I'd love to do this again.
A Sankarshan Joshi trip.